All right. Looks like the participants are staying about the same, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Nick Board, and I'm the Interim Associate Director for SaaS Operations, and I work with housing, with marketing, and will be the facilitator of this webinar today. Today's topic is Know Before You Go, what you can expect from move-in. And with every presentation, we like to start off on what our mission is. And with Housing and Residential Life at Wayne State, we really work to foster your student learning and success in our communities through programs and a wide variety of support, knowing that you're a student first. And so with that, we want to help keep you informed as you prepare to call campus housing home this fall. And today's presenter who will be leading this is Nikki Dunham, and she's the Director of Residence Life. And so I'd like to hand it over to Nikki.
Hi, everyone. Glad that you could join us today. The entire Housing and Residential Life staff are busy preparing for your arrival, and we are so excited to welcome you to Housing That's Home on Wayne State's campus in Midtown Detroit. I'm going to provide a few updates today about what's happening with move-in and get you kind of ready for the whole experience. Arriving to campus might be, well, it will be pretty different from what you may have expected before the COVID-19 pandemic happened, but we are still very excited to welcome you to your new home and plan for it to be an incredible experience while you live with us on campus. So let's talk about the actual move-in process. So the first step of move-in will be a test for COVID-19. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but this is a really important and necessary step for both you and your neighbor's safety. This will kick off the move-in process. After the test, you'll then drive to campus. As we identify the specific testing locations, you'll get more information about which route you'll need to take and where you'll be able to pull up to unload and all that good stuff a little bit later. We did mention in an earlier email that was sent that you will be allowed one helper when you move in. We'll have plenty of additional help for you on campus, but this is again to help mitigate the spread and allow for maximum physical distancing when you're actually in the lobby or the elevator or the hallway of your building. On your drive, it may be really helpful to register that helper if you haven't done that already, but we do encourage you to do that as soon as possible. You will be greeted by a member of our staff or from the Warrior Welcome Crew when you get to campus. We'll talk a little bit more about Warrior Welcome Crew in a couple of minutes. But at that time, the resident student would proceed to the building, to the lobby to actually check in. That's where you'll pick up your key and you'll receive instructions about some forms that you'll need to complete before you actually move into your room. Then you'll go back to your vehicle to unload with the Warrior Welcome Crew help, and then you proceed back to your building to get settled in. So some information specifically about the COVID-19 tests that we wanted to make sure that we shared today. As I mentioned before, we are requiring all campus residents moving in from August 24 until the 29th to be tested for COVID-19. Again, this is a precautionary measure that we feel is necessary and it's really beneficial for everyone. Only the residential student will be required to be tested before moving in. The test is quite simple. It's a swab in your nose. I did it a couple weeks ago and it's not as bad as some of the crazy TikToks or YouTube videos or whatever might seem. It's just a little bit uncomfortable. But with this test that we are planning to provide for move-in, you'll have your results within 15 minutes. The testing site that you'll be at, which again, we'll provide more information about that once the logistics are ironed out, will give you proof of a negative result, which you'll need to keep with you. Don't lose it. It will be extremely important that you have that when you go to check in to your building location. As I just mentioned, we're still working out the logistics for signing up for a test, so we thank you for your patience with that because that's also the time that you'll sign up to actually move on to campus. But we're coordinating that with a lot of people, including the City of Detroit and the university's Health Policy Committee. But once you sign up for your actual testing time, which will also be your move-in time, as I said, it is extremely important that you keep your sign-up time. If you have not signed up, you may not be able to move in as you'd planned. It's sort of like a doctor's appointment. If you either don't have the appointment or you miss your time, you may be out of luck. It's not really just a walk-up service. So keep that in mind when you get more information about signing up for a time. Make absolutely sure that that is the time that works for you. Again, you'll need to bring those results that you get at the testing site to your check-in location. So one of the burning questions might be, what if my test is positive, but I'm completely asymptomatic and I didn't think that I was sick at all, which sometimes happens. Well, unfortunately, you won't be able to move in as you may have planned. We do have a number of isolation rooms available on campus, but that's probably not the way you want to start your experience on our college campus. You would essentially need to move in twice. You would need to move in once to the isolation room and then another time to your regular assignment. So we will strongly, strongly encourage you, if your test comes back positive, even if you are asymptomatic, to go home where your family or loved ones can take care of you if you do start to display symptoms. We know, however, that there are some students that might not have the ability to go back to their home. So if you truly do not have a place to go once you arrive to move in and that test comes back positive, I mentioned that we do have isolation rooms. This is a single room with a private bathroom where you'll need to stay until you're released by the campus health center. You'll be provided meal deliveries if you have a meal plan. If you don't have a meal plan, so if you're living in one of our apartment buildings and it's not required, you will be assigned a meal plan at your cost. We can then deliver those meals to the room where you are staying in isolation. Part of the isolation process is also the campus health center doing regular check-ins with you. So they will contact you in some way daily in the time while you're in isolation. And then they will notify the housing staff when it's okay for you to move to your regular fall assignment. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So we do want you to prepare for safety on campus, of course. The daily screener is on our COVID-19 coronavirus website through Wayne State. So you can find that there. You will need to start completing that 2 days before you plan to arrive to campus. So the daily screener is just a way for the campus health center and the health policy committee to know who might be displaying symptoms, and they'll be able to check in with you to see if it's okay for you to come on campus. The daily screener is also something that you'll need to continue to fill out while you live with us on campus, especially if you plan to leave your building and go to other places. So don't forget that daily screener. I also recommend that you save it as a bookmark. I have it as a little icon on my phone so I can just click it, fill out the form really quickly, and then submit it. Let's see here. So personal protection. Don't forget that a face covering is required at all steps during the move-in process. So you will be given a face covering that's from Wayne State University. So you'll be given that when you check in, but you will need to have a mask on when you arrive to campus. That also goes for your helper and anybody else visiting during that time. You can also elect to bring gloves if that makes you feel more safe, but those won't be provided by our staff. As far as sanitizing goes, currently our housekeeping staff, facilities staff are cleaning all high-touch areas more frequently than they may have in the past before COVID-19. And they will continue to do that through move-in and through the fall semester until we have truly mitigated the spread and the situation with COVID-19 improves significantly in the state. Do keep in mind, though, that all of our move-in carts, which we will be providing on campus, but those will be assigned specifically to a Warrior Welcome Crew member. You will not be able to check out a cart. So cleaning supplies will also not be provided. So if you need to bring any of those items, please do bring those with you. You're welcome to bring your own wipes or spray or whatever you would like to, but we will be cleaning out the carts in between students that move in. So it will be clean and sanitized when the Warrior Welcome Crew member greets you with their cart that you're able to use with them. We also encourage you to bring your own Dollier cart with you. It will expedite the process, and especially since you won't be able to check out a cart from us. It will really help you with the move-in process and will keep things moving. So we are practicing physical distancing still. We do recommend that everybody stays at least 6 feet away. So as that precaution, we are only allowing one resident and their helper in an elevator at a time. So many of you that live on the lower floors of buildings may be encouraged to take the stairs. So please come prepared to potentially do that if you're able. Just so that you know, we only anticipate a handful of residents checking in each day during the move-in process. So we expect that we will be able to provide the space necessary to maintain the maximum physical distancing. Don't forget to pre-register your guest. I mentioned that once already. And they will have to both check in and check out with you from the building. Remember, there's only one helper allowed per resident, and that cannot be changed throughout the day. We have had a couple of people reach out wondering how they will be able to show, multiple parents or grandparents or friends their space on campus. Just be prepared to video chat them if you need to. And as always, come and find us if you need us. There will be, very, very clear ways to recognize our staff and our volunteers throughout the move-in week, and we can answer any questions that you might have. So some other things to consider during the move-in process. The Towers Cafe will not be open for dining until Saturday, August 29, and that is when your meal plan will become active. So if you are planning to move onto campus earlier in the week, just note that Towers Cafe will not be available and you will not be able to use your meal plan until Saturday. So you will need to plan to have meals in some other way until that time. We have mentioned previously that the guest policy will continue to be suspended throughout the fall semester. Again, that's something that we are continually monitoring and are in communication with the university's health policy committee, as well as CDC recommendations about how many outside visitors are suggested to come into buildings. But do remember that no guests will be allowed during the fall semester. As I said, we are very excited to welcome you to campus. Part of that is usually a floor meeting or a community meeting with your resident advisor or community director. So we'll be hosting those meetings every night during move-in. So that's when you'll get the chance to virtually meet some of your neighbors and maybe new friends. You'll definitely have the chance to meet your resident advisor then as well. Those will be held nightly at 8 p.m. And also don't forget about resident orientation, which you'll receive a lot more information about in the weeks to come. And now I'm going to pass it on to Katie, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the Warrior Welcome Crew.
Great, thank you, Nikki. So my name's Katie. I'm the Academic Initiatives Coordinator here in our office. And I also oversee some of the Warrior Welcome Crew planning. So we're really excited to launch the Warrior Welcome Crew volunteer registration today during this webinar. And what it is an opportunity for continuing students, staff, and faculty to volunteer and help warriors move in. And so because we're going to be doing the extended move-in for the COVID response, we're going to have an extended opportunity for you all to volunteer with us. Great, so something that is a perk for that, if you're looking to move in on a little bit earlier, you can volunteer with us and do that. Training is going to be asynchronous, meaning it's going to be at your own pace. You're not going to need to come and get together because, as Nikki just said, we're practicing social distancing. So you're going to do the asynchronous at your own pace. The training's August 17th through the 20th. We think that it's going to be really great. It's via Canvas course. You'll get all the information that you need. And we're hoping that all volunteers that sign up will do a minimum of 2 4-hour shifts throughout the week. So we are going to be volunteering from 8 until 6 p.m. each of those days, Monday through Saturday. And we'd really like for you all to help us out and sign up for a couple of those shifts throughout the week. So besides the joy of helping your peers move in, you're also going to receive an official Warrior Welcome Crew hat. We're also going to get some buttons. And then of course, one of the expectations we have for our volunteers is that you are wearing the PPE, so like your face covering, and we're gonna have sanitizing equipment for all of the carts and everything. And if you don't have a mask, we're gonna provide one for you. So if you're interested in being part of the Warrior Welcome Crew, that is so exciting. We're interested in welcoming you early and having you here on campus to help. You're gonna get an email after this webinar with the link to register, and you can do that there. We're asking for all volunteers to register by August 16th so that we can get the training assigned and everything sent out. And it should be a really great year for Warrior Welcome Crew.
So I just wanted to close out my piece of all of this before you can ask some questions with some tips for the next couple of weeks before you start to move into campus. So first of all, I mentioned that a lot more information is coming, and that is no lie. Watch your email very closely for the next couple of weeks from updates from Housing and Residential Life. Things are changing relatively quickly, and we want to make sure that you are able to sign up for a move-in time as soon as possible, so please do watch your email. Secondly, if you haven't already, I really encourage you to contact your roommate. You can always see your roommate's information in the Housing Self-Service portal off of our website. It's really important that you start to talk about how you keep your space safe, clean, etc., but also how you'll be very successful roommates. Also, don't forget to complete the required modules on Canvas, excuse me. So those were all emailed out a couple of weeks ago, I believe now, with the first move-in update that happened in mid-July. So don't forget to click through those links and complete all of those modules, which will feed into your ability to check in on campus. And don't forget too to join us next week when we'll be providing some more information on what to and what not to pack when you plan to arrive to campus in a few weeks. So with that, I believe we will open it up for questions.
Thanks, Nikki. So we have a few questions that came in, but if you have any more, feel free to put them in the Q&A feature of Zoom and we'll get them answered for you. The first questions are around when and how can I sign up for a move-in day?
Yeah, so that information is coming. As I mentioned, we're doing a lot of coordination with both the City of Detroit and the university's Health Policy Committee. We expect to be able to provide that information very soon, but that's a good reason to really, stay tuned into your email because that's how we'll communicate that.
All right. And then another question came in, since we all need COVID-19 testing and come up negative, if we're allowed on campus, will we be allowed to go to other housing units as a resident?
So you'll be allowed to freely move around your specific building that you are assigned to, but the guest policy also, that suspension does not permit you to go to other buildings to be checked in as a guest. We're doing this to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 as much as we can right now, and we understand that this is really frustrating and can feel a little bit isolating for some of our students, but we have a lot of staff members, including your resident advisor, that will be offering a lot of different ways to engage with your community, both within your floor, your building, and across campus. So we think that you'll still be able to be connected, but unfortunately you won't be able to move throughout other housing buildings at this time.
Thanks, Nikki. Also on as a panelist, we have Dr. Kelly Thacker from our housing operations team. And I think this question's best answered by Kelly. So since housing has to be paid before move-in, does a payment on the account get allocated to housing costs first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. That's a great question. It does not. So when you make a payment towards your Wayne State student account, it goes towards your tuition and fees first. And there is no way for you to allocate a payment that you make directly to your housing or dining charges. So I would recommend that you take a look at, we have a page on our housing website that is about payments, and it actually will link you to a lot of the other university resources about payment plans. And so that might be some things that you want to check out just as you're getting ready to pay your bill to make sure that you meet all of those deadlines.
Thanks, Kelly. I will drop that link in the chat right now. It's housing.wayne.edu/residents/payments. All right, and then another question came in asking, can I be a helper? I'm assuming a Warrior Welcome Crew, even though it's my first year.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Unfortunately, we really want first year students to kind of focus on their move-in and getting settled. So unless you're part of one of our living learning communities, first year students are not permitted to be part of the Warrior Welcome Crew. But if it's your first year, we would love to have you next year when you're a continuing student in the Warrior Welcome Crew.
So it looks like there are no more questions right now. I'll give everyone another minute or two if anything has come up. But while you're thinking of a question, I just want to let you know that we're always available to answer your questions via email at housing@wayne.edu, or we have a live chat on housing.wayne.edu Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. And if you use the chat after that, it'll just send us an email and we'll follow back up with you. Our website also has a ton of great information, and the search bar is super helpful, even if you're not sure where you might need to look for it. And we're currently, well, our central office is not open. We're working remotely and responding to voicemails that come in to 313-577-2116. Just please note that there might be a delay on that with some high call volume, and we're trying to answer those in the order that we receive them. All right, so it doesn't look like there are any more questions coming in, and so I want to thank everyone for joining us today. As Nikki shared, that we're continually doing these, and we have a webinar next week. I believe it is on Tuesday, August 11th at 4 o'clock. That is around what to pack and leave at home. And I believe I spoke too soon because another question just came in. If we know where we might be having the COVID tests.
Yeah, so there's likely to be a couple of different locations. I don't want to share those too prematurely, as it's very possible that those might change in the coming weeks, but that will be communicated along with how you would sign up for a testing time.
Thanks, Nikki.
Sure.
All right. So it looks like that is all the questions now in the question and answer box. And so again, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday for our next webinar. Thanks, everyone.